when Dominic Mysterio chose Liv Morgan over Rhea Ripley at SummerSlam 2024. Ripley was devastated. That wasn't the original intention of the Liv Morgan Revenge Tour, however. As Morgan has since admitted, Rhea Ripley and Damian Priest were both kicked out of the faction the same night, altering the course of events in the Judgment Day, thanks to the Liv Morgan Revenge Tour. On top of that, the Women's World Champion had an on-screen romance with Dominik Mysterio, but it wasn't intended this way at all. The Women's World Champion said during an interview at Ringside Fest 2024 that her first intention was to have Dirty Dom harm Mommy, but she ended herself falling for the second-generation WWE star instead as she began to develop emotions for him. A protracted war between Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan began on Monday Night Raw earlier this year, when Morgan gradually turned heel. Although Mommy never really lost the Women's World Championship, she did lose almost everything else in the process, and has never been able to get it back. All the while, the 28-year-old celebrity has been enjoying life in the champion's mind without paying a dime. It seems like Liv Morgan took offense during an interview when the host compared their interview tallies. Her words are relayed here. Like every time a big event was about to go down, the WWE locker room was on edge. Seated in her corner, Liv Morgan anxiously fastened her boots as her gaze swept over the clock. Rhea Ripley was the only person she was thinking about tonight. Their long simmering resentment eventually erupted into physical altercations and vicious comments. Winning wasn't enough for Liv. She also wanted Rhea to pay for all the hurt and shame she had caused her. Something was off with Liv's ambitions. That was nefarious even by her estimation. Emotionally, if physically, she would shatter Rhea. Dominik Mysterio, someone she was close to, was the best target for this. The first move, while Rhea was giving one of her passionate backstage promotions, the thought occurred to Liv that Dominik was always there, a subtle but constant shadow. Rhea could see how much he cared about her. Liv reasoned that the unstoppable Rhea Ripley may be rattled to her core if she could sow division between them. The approach had its roots in ambition and malice, but Liv couldn't deny that curiosity had also played a role. Dominic piqued her interest. Although he seemed strong on the outside, there was a hint of frailty behind his machismo, a fragility that appeared to contradict his loyalty. The first thing she had to do was get Dominic's attention. It wasn't hard at all. Just a few interactions behind the scenes, a flirtatious grin here and there, and a lingering look there were enough to catch his eye. However, Liv found herself grappling with unexpected emotions as their meetings became more regular. Unlikely companionship. For a while, it seemed like a natural progression. With her charisma turned up to 11, Liv would accidentally run across Dominic in the hallways or during training. His unwavering devotion to Rhea was through in his kind yet reserved demeanor. Dominic had his layers, but he was also very sweet, as Liv soon learned. I wasn't just Rhea's lackey as she thought. He was witty, perceptive, and unexpectedly considerate. After a live performance, Liv and Dominic ended themselves sitting together in the catering area one night. She hadn't intended for them to end up at the same peaceful spot, but they were both exhausted after their bouts. Hard night? With a hint of compassion in his voice, Dominic inquired. As she sipped her water, Liv shrugged. I suppose you could make that argument, but I'll take care of it. Then Dominic grinned. You appear to be the kind who finds joy in disorder, she said. Even Liv was taken aback by the sincere tone of her laughter. To know one is to have one. From that point on, the discussion took off. They discussed wrestling, family, and the challenges of being famous. Liv finally stopped seeing Dominic as a tool in her power struggle with Rhea, and started seeing him as a friend she liked spending time with. Unanticipated emotions. Every week, Liv's plan became more and more confused. Her sentiments for Dominic were more than just a ploy. They had transformed into a genuine desire to harm Rhea. Their private times together were something she looked forward to. She loved seeing his face light up when he spoke about his interests, and she admired his quiet strength, which he displayed under Rhea's dominance. Problematically, Rhea wasn't unaware. She was enraged by the increasing intimacy she saw between Liv and Dominic. One evening, Rhea confronted Liv backstage after a flirtatious remark exchange between her and Dominic during a promo. Rhea yelled out, "What are you up to?" with fiery eyes. Although her heart was racing, Liv pretended not to be guilty. "What are you talking about?" "I have no idea." As Rhea approached, she grew taller, surpassing her. "Do not be near him." Even though Rhea's tone was cautionary, Liv couldn't help but grin. "Then what?" "Rhea, are you afraid?" Worried that, for once, he would like spending time with another person? Rhea remained silent despite her clenched fists. She stomped off, leaving Liv to feel a mixture of relief and shame. A watershed moment. As their animosity deepened, nasty bouts and vicious promos broke out between Liv and Rhea. Liv and Dominic's bond, however, persisted in the background. Dominic was caught in a sticky predicament, caught between his allegiance to Rhea and his growing affections for Liv. The night after a particularly vicious bout between Liv and Rhea, Dominic went looking for Liv. He showed up at the doorway as she iced her shoulder in the trainer's room. Before drawing near, he paused. "Liv, do you mind telling me what's happening between us?" Without knowing what to say, Liv averted her gaze. She wasn't sure how much of the complex reality she was willing to admit to him or to herself. A quiet, "I didn't intend for this to happen," came out of her mouth. It all started with trying to annoy Rhea. Now, however, I'm confused. "Dominic, you are not what I anticipated." He stared at her with a look nobody could decipher. "Do you believe I can do this easily? Whenever I needed someone, Rhea was there for me. But when we're together, it's unique." His remarks hurt Liv's heart. The more she tried to ignore her emotions, the more she realized she was placing him in an untenable situation. The aftermath, tensions escalated to a critical level the following week. While a tag match was going on, Rhea publicly shamed Dominic for having dual allegiances. From her vantage point at the ringside, Liv experienced a wave of fury on his behalf. She stepped into the ring mindlessly, positioning herself between Dominic and Rhea. "If you're having trouble, come talk to me," Liv said calmly, her voice unwavering in the face of the man.